What happens when your personal space is repeatedly disrespected and no one in authority seems to care? Imagine coming home to find a car blocking your driveway every single day. You ask politely, you report it, and still it keeps happening. Now imagine that person belongs to your neighborhood's homeowners association. Someone with power, someone who should know better. This is a story of a man who had enough, and how he finally took action after months of frustration. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's more than just a simple parking dispute. It's about boundaries, respect, and standing up for yourself when the system doesn't seem to have your back. A story that involves a persistent HOA member, who many are calling a Karen, who repeatedly parked in her black neighbor's driveway, ignoring requests and warning for months. And what happened next? The neighbor finally had her car towed, not once, but twice. Our story unfolds in a suburban neighborhood that looks like many others across the country. Quiet streets lined with neat houses, manicured lawns, and a strong sense of community. These are the kinds of neighborhoods where neighbors often wave hello, children play in yards, and people expect a certain level of respect for personal space and property. In such communities, a driveway isn't just a patch of pavement. It's an essential part of a homeowner's property. It's the gateway between their home and the outside world. It's where they park their car, bring groceries inside, and safely come and go every day. Most importantly, it's their space, not a free parking spot for anyone who happens to be nearby. But despite these unspoken and sometimes written rules, one homeowner, who also happened to be a board member of the local homeowners association, HOA, repeatedly disregarded this boundary. Instead of respecting her neighbor's driveway as private property, she chose to park her vehicle there regularly. This wasn't just an occasional mistake or an emergency stop. It was a pattern that stretched over months. On the other side was a black man, a homeowner who deeply valued his privacy, his property rights, and his peace of mind. For him, the driveway was more than just a place to park. It was part of his daily routine, a space he relied on for safe access to his home and the street beyond. But every morning, he woke up to find his access blocked, his driveway occupied by a vehicle that did not belong to him and was placed there without his consent. He tried to handle the situation calmly and respectfully. He reached out, asked politely, hoping the issue could be resolved neighbor to neighbor. Yet, despite his efforts, the vehicle kept reappearing day after day, as if his request meant nothing. This ongoing situation wasn't just inconvenient. It was a violation of his rights, a persistent disruption to his daily life, and a source of growing frustration and anxiety. It's hard to feel truly at home when someone else regularly blocks your way in your own driveway, and worse, when the person doing so holds a position of authority in the community. This wasn't just a one-time annoyance or a fleeting inconvenience that could be overlooked. The problem was persistent and ongoing, stretching on for months without any meaningful resolution. Every day the man faced the same frustrating scenario: his driveway blocked, his access restricted, and his requests ignored. Feeling increasingly frustrated but still hopeful that the community's governing body would step in, he turned to the homeowners association, the very organization responsible for managing neighborhood disputes and enforcing community guidelines. After all, the HOA's role is to ensure everyone follows the rules fairly, protecting residents' rights and maintaining harmony within the neighborhood. He expected the HOA to take his concerns seriously. He believed that the board member who was parking illegally would respect those same community rules and understand that her behavior was causing real harm to her neighbor. Surely, the association would intervene, issue warnings, or take action to resolve the issue quickly. But, surprisingly and disappointingly, that wasn't the case. Instead of addressing the problem decisively, the HOA appeared reluctant or unwilling to get involved. Perhaps they didn't want to confront one of their own board members, or maybe the policies were vague, but the result was the same: no effective response. This lack of action sent a clear message. The man's concerns were not being prioritized. His polite requests fell on deaf ears, and the repeated violations continued without consequence. Faced with ongoing disrespect and the HOA's inaction, the neighbor was left with little choice. To protect his property and reclaim his space, he was forced to take matters into his own hands. This wasn't just about convenience anymore. It was about standing up for his rights when the system designed to protect those rights failed him. After months of ongoing frustration, the man reached a turning point. He realized that polite requests and appeals to the HOA were not enough to protect his property or his peace of mind. It was a difficult decision. Having a neighbor's car towed is never easy, especially when that neighbor is someone in a position of authority, like an HOA board member. But sometimes, when boundaries are continually crossed and respect is ignored, stronger action becomes necessary. The first time he had the vehicle towed, it sent a clear and firm message. Parking on someone else's driveway without permission is unacceptable and will have consequences. It was a way of reclaiming his space and asserting his rights as a homeowner. This action was about more than just removing a car. It was about standing up against repeated disrespect. Yet, despite this clear warning, the HOA member did not change her behavior. She returned to park in the driveway again, showing a blatant disregard for the man's property and the initial consequences she faced. This return was more than just inconvenient. It was a direct challenge to the neighbor's authority over his own home and space. Faced with this renewed disrespect, the man knew he had to take a stand once more. He arranged to have the vehicle towed a second time. This was not an impulsive or vengeful act. It was a necessary step to protect his rights and send an unmistakable message that his driveway was not a free parking spot, no matter who the person was. The repeated towing reflected the severity of the ongoing conflict and underscored the man's determination to protect his property when all other avenues had failed. This incident didn't stay quiet for long. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood, and before long, the story made its way onto social media platforms where it sparked widespread discussion and debate. Many people rallied behind the man, applauding his courage and resolve to stand up for his rights in the face of repeated disrespect and an unresponsive HOA. For many, his actions symbolized a powerful example of asserting one's property rights and dignity when official channels failed to deliver justice. Supporters saw him as a neighbor who simply demanded the basic respect and boundaries every homeowner deserves. On the other hand, the HOA member's behavior drew sharp criticism. She was widely labeled as entitled and disrespectful, not just for parking where she shouldn't, but for ignoring polite requests and community norms. The fact that she held a position on the HOA board only amplified the backlash, as many felt she should have been setting an example rather than creating conflict. Beyond the immediate dispute over parking, the incident sparked deeper conversations about racial dynamics and power structures in suburban communities. The narrative touched a nerve because it involved a black man standing up to a white HOA board member characterized in popular culture as a Karen, a term often used to describe someone who uses their privilege or authority to impose unfair demands on others. For many viewers, this wasn't just about a blocked driveway. It was a reflection of broader societal issues. How respect and boundaries are sometimes unequally enforced, how systemic power imbalances play out in everyday situations, and how communities grapple with race, privilege, and fairness. The incident served as a microcosm of larger conversations happening nationwide about equality, justice, and the right to be treated with dignity in one's own home and neighborhood. This story is more than just a neighborhood dispute. It's a powerful reminder of some essential lessons that apply to all of us, whether we're homeowners, renters, or simply part of community. 1. Know your rights. Your home is your sanctuary, your personal space where you should feel safe, respected, and in control. It's important to understand your rights as a property owner. Driveways, yard, and entrances belong to you, and no one has the right to invade or block that space without permission. Knowing this empowers you to stand firm when those boundaries are challenged. 2. HOA responsibilities. Homeowners associations exist to manage community standards and ensure everyone plays by the rules. But with that power comes responsibility. HOAs must enforce rules fairly, transparently, and consistently, regardless of who is involved. When they fail to act, it not only undermines the trust of the residents, but also encourages ongoing conflicts that could have been avoided. 3. Want to take action. Sometimes, despite your best efforts to resolve issues through polite requests or official channels, you might find yourself facing repeated disrespect or rule breaking. In those moments, it's crucial to know when to take decisive, assertive action to protect your rights and your property. Standing up for yourself isn't about confrontation. It's about self-respect and ensuring your space is honored. For The importance of respect and communication. At its core, many neighborhood disputes boil down to a lack of respect and poor communication. If neighbors took the time to listen, understand boundaries, and communicate openly, many conflicts could be prevented before they escalate. Respecting each other's space and being willing to talk openly builds a stronger, more harmonious community for everyone. In the end, this story is about much more than a car blocking a driveway. It's about respect, the kind of basic human respect that every person deserves in their own home. It's about dignity, the quiet strength it takes to stand up for yourself when you feel overlooked or ignored. And it's about the power we all hold to protect our personal space and boundaries when those around us or the systems meant to protect us fail to do so. Sometimes, it's not enough to ask politely or wait for someone else to solve the problem. Sometimes, we have to take action ourselves. Not out of anger or spite, but because our homes and our peace of mind depend on it. This story reminds us that setting clear boundaries and standing firm sends a message, not just to the person causing the problem, but to the community at large, that your space matters and deserves to be respected. Have you ever faced a similar challenge with neighbors or HOA disputes? Maybe someone parked in your spot, or perhaps your concerns were dismissed by those in charge. Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other's experiences. And what about you? If someone kept blocking your driveway day after day, how far would you go to protect your home? Would you talk to the HOA, confront your neighbor, or take stronger action like this man did? Let's start a conversation. If you found this story meaningful, please give a thumbs up, subscribe for more real stories that highlight important issues, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and remember, your home is your sanctuary. Protect it with pride.